all the people you're going to attract. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because think of me, I was a postal worker. I made $22,000 in my 5th year. I quit almost every year, but I couldn't quit because my wife wouldn't let me quit, and my mentor wouldn't let me quit. But now my wife and I have 32 people making 7-figure income. But you know why? Because we changed from the inside out. You don't change from the outside in. That's one of our problems with our educational system. They're always teaching you like outside in. No, you already were born to be great. You just lost it somewhere like I did. And now you're going to be reminded of it by telling it now bigger things. Is that making sense to anybody now?
Yes.
And do you see now why my goal is to have 1,000 people making $1 million a year? Why? Do I want to get any richer? I have all the money in the world. No, I want to bless all these other families because every one of my team says, thank you, Papa. Thank you, Papa, for never giving up. Thank you. Well, you have people right now that you don't know that are praying that you get big so you'll connect with them. Does that make sense to anybody?
Yes.
You have to start getting outside your own self. And in the beginning, we're all like that, right? I just want to make enough money to pay my bills, right? That's all I was thinking about, right? Then I wanted to get rid of my little Honda Civic because I'm 6'4" and I shouldn't be driving a Honda Civic. But you see, in the beginning, it was all about me and my wife. But you see, the quicker you learn that you literally can attract all these people to you, right? Now, you don't tell it to other people. You know, if you got a negative brother-in-law, does anybody have one of those? We all have one of those. You don't tell it to people that don't believe in you because they'll spend the rest of their life trying to discourage you. What does discourage mean? It's the opposite of courage. When someone tries to discourage us, they're trying to take away your courage. And after going to this whole event down here in Orlando, don't you all have a lot more courage than you had when you started? So I would never tell those things to a lot of people. I'm not telling a lot of people that I'm going to have 1,000 7-figure earners on my team, but I say it in my car every day when I'm alone by myself because I want it to be heard where? Deep in my heart. Does that make sense? Now, do you see why I want you all thinking bigger? And can you see the problem now with the way we grew up with our parents? My father said, get a good job with benefits. That's what he told me. So I got a job in the post office. It was a good job with benefits, but I hated it. See, I did what my dad said. Get a good job with benefits. So then I did. Then I was miserable. You see, it's not my dad's fault. Do you see that? I'm just glad, and that's why you guys are so blessed to be on Toon's team. Right? Can't you almost feel like your brain is getting stretch marks on it from this weekend?
Yes, yes.
You have to keep thinking bigger, right?
Yeah.
And bigger. And bigger. Now, Toon, do me a favor and put down the 500,000 people right here. Because I'm going to have you all put your name up here and we're going to take a picture of it. Don't you appreciate Toon and Shinny?
Yes.
Wow, that was exciting.
Yes. Yes.
I'm going to take my sling off and sling it at somebody. You know, they said I tore my rotator cuff. I'm 72 years old. The doctor said, are you athletic? I said, no, I do Zooms and sit in a recliner all day. And the doctor almost fell off his chair and laughed, but it's true. I don't even know how he did it. But I talk with my hands a lot, so maybe do you appreciate Toon and Shinny and all their sacrifices?
Yes.
Do you understand the sacrifices that they made? Do you understand that Toon had to learn how to take a test in English? And not a history test, a test with some of the most complicated words to translate from Thai to English. And he didn't even want to tell people he was taking his test because he didn't want that many people to have to know when he came out if he didn't pass it. You have to go back and think about that. How many times he took the test? How many times he didn't understand the training on the IUL? How many times he didn't understand what a mutual fund, but he just said, you know what? I'm doing this thing. And look at the community of people, and there's a lot more than just here. But it's because of the fact that he never gave up. And you guys got to realize you're going to have rooms full of people like this that are counting on you, just like you didn't know it, some of you, but you were counting on Toon and Shinny making it here.
sorry to cut you off, because maybe the reason I want to, cut him off, I have good reason, okay? Most of you guys, just so you know, this is Grey Cap, not just a Grey Cap, okay? Just so you know, his organization is like one of the biggest business in UFG, okay? Just like 1 year alone, the total production, almost like $300 million, okay, in production. And he has about to get 40 people who makes over 7-figure income, okay? Not even that. When we get talk about what to make recruit 10-30, last year alone, okay, he cost over like 50,000 people in just recruiting people. And he has like thousand SMD. And just so you know, today, okay, I know that a lot of people ask him to speak to their team, but he picked our team, just only one, okay, just only one. So we appreciate you, Grey Cap, and Sophia, Becky, that a lot. That's just only our team, just so you know. That's why we feel privileged, to be here with you. Thank you so much.
If you're gonna make 100,000 a year, I want you to come on that right side of the board and write your name and put 100,000 after it. Come on. If you're going to make 100,000, I want you to make a commitment in front of everybody. Now, what is your first name? She jumped up right away. Kimberly. Now, you know as a leader what I look for? She jumped up first. That means she's made her mind up.
พี่เปิ้ลว่าพี่เจิ้นจะเอาเท่าไหร่จะเปิ้ลเทคเปิ้ลสิเดี๋ยวฉันจะขึ้นไปเขียน2,500เราไม่เขียนแสนแล้วนะเราเขียน2,500เลยเรากำลังงงๆอยู่ทำไมเขาเขียนกันสเปซสปะเลยอ่ะมันไม่มีที่ให้คนอื่นเขียนเลยเหรอ
Let's do it, Mel. A ring. I want you to want your ring. Have your ring. It makes sense to earn 6 figures as an employee. The government takes it off. It's actually all government. 15%. Boom. Such is life.
พี่ป้าให้ไปเขียน100,000
โอเค
100,000นี่คือ1
ไปเขียนชื่อที่เสนอเลยแล้วกัน
เขียนแล้ว
ใครเขียนได้ทันอ๋อเหรอโอเคของพี่อ่ะแล้วของพี่อ่ะ
เดี๋ยวก่อนเดี๋ยวอันนี้แค่100,000ก่อน
เราไปก่อนเราถือกล้องไว้ก่อนถ้าน้อง100,000พี่ต้อง250,000ค่ะจะแพ้น้องไม่ได้เดี๋ยวหน้ามัน จะรู้สึกยังไงถ้าได้100,000คะ
What would I feel เหรอ feel
เหมือนทำผ้านางงาม
amazing อ่ะ
What was the most important thing you picked up this weekend in a short?
feel เหมือนได้ซีรีส์เส้นละมั้งอารมณ์ประมาณนั้น
Because this really helps everybody.
Complainers never win, winners never complain.
That's really true. And you know what else? Every time you complain, you weaken your own willpower. Now, what do you think it is that recruits people? It's your willpower. Did you know that? What is it that sells people IUL? Your willpower. And every time, does anyone know a family member that complains a lot? If you don't raise your hand, you don't have a family. Okay, what are they doing is they're sabotaging themselves because every time we complain, we weaken our own willpower. Now look at Toon and Chinny. I told you about their willpower, right? That's why they're at a $500,000 on their way to $1 million. Why? Because they've developed their willpower to overcome adversity, like Kiki does all the time. You see what I mean? Because adversity will always be
ของ
with
เราอยู่
us.
ตรงไหนอะแล้วมีชื่อเรายังเราไม่เห็น
And the more spiritual you become, I'm not talking about what kind of church you go to. I'm just saying the more spiritual you become, you'll start to realize that the closer you get to your goal, the more adversity comes. Raise your hand if you believe that.
Yes.
Now, I didn't know that as a postal worker, but every time my wife and I got real close, all kinds of bad stuff happened to us. So we thought it was a message from God to give up. That's not God talking to us. That was a negative force on earth that didn't want us to be happy, not worry about money anymore. So when you realize that the closer you get to your dream, the more the adversity comes, then you're not so upset when adversity comes. And one day you'll learn to say what I say every time. Every adversity in my life has a benefit bigger than the adversity if I look for it and don't talk about it. See, the minute you say I got 5 canceled Zoom calls, you just spoke your adversity out of your mouth and you lose the benefit. So do you know what I did when I got 5 canceled calls? I went, because I didn't want to say it, and I got on the phone. And I would call somebody, and I'd say, "Hi, Mary. Frank asked me to call. He told me you got good people skills." And the lady thought, "Well, this guy's happy." I wasn't happy. I was upset, but I converted my being upset into enthusiasm. So can you see when you do speak out your adversity? Like, let's say someone leaves your team, and you start telling some people that. First of all, your children hear it. Your spouse hears it, and you know what? That's the wrong people to hear it, right? Because now what you're doing is you're selling the dreams of the team, but you're selling a nightmare to your family. Well, they're leaving no room for the 250 people.
we start writing already Papa
Oh, okay.
yes เราข้ามช็อตไปละเราไม่เราป้าเรียกเราเลยเขียนเลยนี่โอแรงนะโอ500,000นะโอนี่
Think bigger
แม่เท่าไหร่นะแม่1,000,000ใช่ไหมแม่
ไหนอะแม่เขียนไว้ตรงไหนแม่หาไม่เจอ
พอลีนซีรีอยู่ข้างใต้
เอาสีเขียว
เขียวสีเขียวเหนียวซับ
Okay, I'm sure that you want to take some picture here, and because you said you go right here. All right, so just so you know, Greg Cap is the mentor of the mentors. Okay, so this is going to be the chat that you can see him and ask him in person. So we're gonna open Q&A. Okay, but hey, I don't want you to ask like what is the IUL. Okay. Okay, he's a spiritual and he good with people. You know, he know how to deal with your emotional. He know how to build a big base shop, big organization. Okay, because hey, if you love Great Cap, you like no Jeff Levitan. Sorry, Jeff Levitan. He's the mentor of Jeff Levitan. Okay, so yes, you got the first question.
Oh, sorry, I was.
All right, let's do Q&A with our Great Cap. Yes,
And make sure it's a question for everybody. You know, sometimes people say, "Well, my aunt said this." When you ask a question in a big group, always ask something that's good for everybody in the room. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because if you do it to Rich Folly, if you ask him a dumb question, he just walks.
Yeah.
We all did that after question.
Yes.
All right, who's got one? Wow, your team has no questions. They're perfect.
I'll go.
And say your name.
I'm Gabby.
Gabby.
How do you continue a conversation with someone that is struggling and has financial difficulties, and then after listening to their problems, let's say you're trying to encourage them and say, "I might have a solution for you." But then
And this is a person in the business or a prospect?
a prospect. So then that person doesn't want to hear you.
even though they might need your help, but they just don't want to hear you. So how would you handle a scenario like that? How do you get someone to believe in you when they're struggling?
See, I learned early in the business to sell the dream of the product and the dream of the business, because when people have problems in their life, it's all in their head, but their heart still has a lot of dreams. Is this making sense to anybody? Yeah. So if you talk real logically to someone about our business, it's a financial services company, we have mutual funds, and we have annuities, and we have trainings on Tuesday and Thursday. This part goes like, I'm too busy. Is that making sense? But that's how we all are in the beginning, right? Because that's what it was to us, right? But when you sell the dream of something, it's like finding out if they want to put their children in a better school. It comes through asking questions. You see, so if I found out that you really wanted your kids to go to a private school instead of a public school, but it costs $2,000 a month and you don't have it, but your friend told me that about you, I would say to you, what if you started making $1,000 or $2,000 a month part-time with us? What would you do with the money? Because everybody see I did my homework first. Yeah. So when she says, I'd really like to put my 2 children in a private school, then I'm going to say, what does it cost a month? And she'll say like $1,900. You see how I'm going further? Yeah. Then I say, what's the name of that school? Yeah. Is it Gabby? No. Yeah. What's the name of that school? Just say any school. What? Athenian. Athenian. Then you know what I say? I say, you know what? Your friend and I, if you can follow our system, we're going to put those children in that private school. Now, you see, does she care about WFG right now? She doesn't. Does she care about the IUL? She doesn't. Does she care about an annuity rollover? No. You know, those are great things. Right now, her primary focus is getting those kids in that school. And see, by selling her the dream, if she does follow the system, she is going to make it here. Because the whole system comes down to trust, credibility. Right? So I'm going to tell her, you have a lot of people that trust you, but you have no credibility. But if you can get them on the phone with me and your friend, we'll teach you how the system works. And then I'm going to, right after I sell her the dream, I'm going to have her dial the phone number and call somebody immediately. See, now if it's a product, then I would say to somebody, well, let's say you're 55, maybe they're 30. What would you like to do? And if you had said, you know what, I really want to get a ladies' boutique one day in my life, I've dreamt about it. And I'd say, really, how big would it be? She said, not a big one, right? And then you told me, you know, I could put $400 a month away in this product. So when I came back on Zoom, I would be like, you're not going to believe what I have for you. Why? See, instead of going like, well, let's go over the illustration together. No, you're not going to believe what I have for you. If you put the $400 a month away, by age 55, you can pull out $10,000 a month in today's dollars with no taxes. Now tell me about your boutique. Now, you see, people don't want an illustration, they want what money can buy. So you gotta find out from people, what would you like to do? If someone says, you know, my mother's in Taiwan, in Thailand, and she's very ill. And within the next 5 years, I've got to visit her, but I can't afford it. You see? Like, you find out what somebody wants, and then you make the business be what it is that they want. Is that making sense to anybody? Because that's a very complex thing. But when you get good at it, you're unstoppable. Because look at all the people I hired who were broke when I hired them. My team got paid over $300 million last year. So some got $250,000, like Kiki. Some got $500,000. Some got $1 million. That's what you're going to do for them. And you don't have to do it by yourself. You have you have your great mentors, and you have your other great mentors that you have also. Like a lot of you, some of you didn't even meet me before. You just heard about me before. So that's really for everybody. Get better at selling. You know, Eric Olson told me, he said, man, Greg Cap, you sell the dream better than anyone in the company. And he told me it's like a lost art. Because when I started, a person had to get their life license, then they had to get their health, then they had to get a Series 6. I'm not done yet. Then they had to get a Series 63, and then they had to get a Series 26 just to make a penny. Oh my God. And you know what? It took people a whole year to get the first penny. And people would say to me, Greg, am I getting a check pretty soon? They go, oh yeah, checks are coming. I had to say that for a whole year to every person. You have it too easy now. Yeah. People are getting their licenses in like a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. But learning how to sell the dream to your children is important. Because sometimes you saw my daughter Becky, she would say to her mother, how come Dad's not at our singing recital? And then my wife would say, because Dad's trying to make a better life for us. But you know what I mean? I shouldn't come home and tell my daughter all my problems, like, guess what, those 3 people, you're going to have to quit. See, then our kids wonder, like, why is mommy gone? Why is daddy gone? Why are they on Zoom all the time? So selling the dream to your spouse is the greatest thing you can do. Wow, all the women smiled real big, like they really would like to heard that. Selling the dream to your children is the greatest thing you can do for your children. Because every time I open my Bible, God sells me the dream. I can hear him say, Greg, you're back, reading your Bible. I'm glad you're here. So selling the dream is just a powerful thing to practice in your life anyway. Mm-hmm. Who's got another one? Is our pizza on the way?
It's coming.
Okay. Who's got another question? Yeah.
In your warm market, when you have people that you know and they're really, really negative people already, and you're hesitant to maybe reach out to them, is there tips, ideas you have as far as your experience, what you've done in that situation?
Yeah.
You just leave them be, or
I wouldn't call them.
Okay.
Because guess what? Would you like to build a team of 10 people and have one person be negative? No. So while you're talking to your team on Zoom, this person's like this. Oh, here we go again. I'm serious. Why would you want to intentionally bring a negative person on your team? Yeah. When there's 330 million Americans. But you answered your own question. I'm glad you answered it. Otherwise, I would have had you leave the room. But does that make sense? And then you know what? Everything's a filter. They either filter their way in or they filter their way out. Quit trying to figure out why did they say no. No, they have a free will, right? So Nikki explains the whole business over here, and then they say, yes, we're interested, or no, we're not. See, you got to learn to disconnect from the outcome. That's a good thing to write in your notes, by the way. When you're making a phone call to a prospect, disconnect from the outcome. Just tell them what it is. They tell you yes or no, but don't take it so personal. And when I had a low self-image, I used to take it all personal. Then I raised my identity, and now it didn't matter what they said. They said yes, great. They said no, great. I just moved on. And you all have to get to that point. Does that make sense?
Yes.
You'll know you're starting to raise your identity when you don't take it personal anymore. Because you know you want to run after them, right? You feel like getting off a Zoom and driving to their house and saying, why did you say no to me? It doesn't matter anymore. Because see, what happens is when they start saying no, you think it's something you said or you did. That's not what it is. You have to start thinking like Walmart does. So what if Don and I owned a Walmart and we had this, right here we could see through this window, but you couldn't see us? And we saw that man with the hat on. What is your name? Chatri. Okay, he's picked up a $2,000 item, and me and Don go, oh, that's a big item right there in his cart. And then he picks up another $3,000 item. We go like, wow. And then he picks up an $8,000 item, but then he abruptly leaves the cart and goes to the parking lot. Would we chase him down and say, why did you leave? It's a big numbers thing at Walmart, right? Some people come and buy stuff, some people don't. You have to learn that about human nature, because the moment you make someone so important to bring into business, then you have now caused yourself to have a spirit called lack, or the spirit of scarcity. And when you have the spirit of scarcity, you can't attract who you need into business. We all need to develop a spirit of abundance, which is, there's 330 million people out there, and every time I recruit the next person, there are only 4 degrees of separation from everybody on earth. That's how you start looking at it. So you know when you're talking to somebody at Starbucks and you're saying, what if you could make an extra $1,000 a month working out of your home in your spare time? Well, how would I do that? Well, then you better take it away right now. Now, why is that? Because, you know, when you say that to somebody, how would you like to make $1,000 or $2,000 a month in your spare time from home? Because you have good people skills. And then she goes, what is that? You better take it away right now. Why? Because otherwise it sounds too good to be true. Now, I see a lot of good-looking ladies in here. And you ladies know that when you were in a bar, and some guy came up and said, hey, gorgeous, you should be going out with me. What did you say? Get away from me. And you turned like this. But then you said to yourself, he's good looking, I hope he comes back. So Barney comes back and he says, you know, there's a lot of girls that regret never going to me. You're not even funny. And then you go like this and you go, he's good looking and he's funny. I hope he comes back. That's called the takeaway. So when I said to her, if there was, because you have good people skills, if there was a way you could make an extra $1,000 or $2,000 a month referring people, and you could do it from home on Zoom, would you be interested? And she goes, yeah, well, what is it? So, well, the first thing I gotta tell you, it's not a joint business. It's, you know, I mean, there's a lot of filters people have to get through first. Like, how old are you? And then no matter what our age is, see what I mean? Because when I met Jeff Levitan, that's what I did to him. Because when he came, I said, how old are you? Because he was asking me a lot of questions. He said, I'm 24. I said, I hope you're married. I said, I'm not. I said, I don't work with anyone unless they're over 25 and they're married. And then he completely changed his posture. So then I challenged him. I said, you know what? I don't know if it's going to be right for you, and I don't know if you're the right person for me. I want you to get me in front of 10 people in the next 7 days, and then you'll get to know me better, but I'm going to get to know you better. And if you want to, you can go your separate way, and I'll go my separate way. Do you know he ran out of my office and dragged 3 people back in about 20 minutes? Because I took it away. I didn't beg them. I didn't get on my knee and beg them. But you see, some of us do this, don't we? Like, it's real easy. You don't have to do anything. It's real easy. Someone else will do it, right? You got to be careful with that. But people are looking for somebody. See how these are little things, but they're big things. If you don't take it away, it looks too good to be true. And it's even if they say yes on Zoom, but you didn't take it away. Then their thought when they hang up is, do they hire every person here? Because you're so awesome, and you're thinking, I don't even have a job. Like, how can I, you know how people are like, but you're so incredibly awesome, and you're like, but I've never had a job, I've never done anything in my whole life. But isn't that what some people say? Like, you're so awesome, you're so awesome. No, you got to learn to take it away, and you should do it for your own sake. Because right now, what is your first name?
Jeff.
Jeff. I wouldn't want to meet Jeff's negative person. Because negative people have been negative their whole life. They're not going to change because they meet us. There was so much in there, wasn't there? Like, I'm telling you right now, the selling the dream, that's a 7-figure thing, right? But just practice it. You know, like I would tell Dylan, right? I tell him, like, go up to your mom tomorrow and just say, Mommy, did you get your hair done? And she'll say, no, I didn't. And then I tell him, go hide behind the door. She'll look in the mirror about every 15 minutes. But that sounds funny, but it's powerful, isn't it?
Yes.
See what I mean? And just practice things like this. So here's another one. I have this dear friend named Rumi who lived in Afghanistan in the year 1200. And when I get to heaven, I'm looking for, here's what he said. And it's a powerful quote. He said, don't worry if people don't understand you because they hear your words, but they think their own thoughts. Now, you have to really dwell on that one. So in other words, if I say to you, you know what? You're looking for a car, right? And I said, you know, our car dealership is rated #1 in service in all of Orlando. There's a little argument going on in his head, right? Like, everybody says that. So does this make sense? They hear your words, but they think their own thoughts.
Yes.
Do you see why everybody says Greg Cap has these skills with people? So I never tell them, like, this is a great company, because they're already arguing with me, like, there's thousands of financial companies. You know, this IUL, it's like the perfect product. See, she hears my words, she's arguing with me already. So what I do is, I find, what is your first name? Gladys. I find out, I know you. I find out something about Gladys, right, that someone tells me. So imagine, oh boy, I'm going to lose all the attention right now.
The kids are here. The kids.
But here, I'll just finish this point. If I found out that Gladys gives out 50 free turkeys on Thanksgiving Day to homeless people, then I'm going to ask her why. And she says, you know, my mother came here from another country, and we didn't have any money. And she said, daughter, if we ever have money, we're going to give out free turkeys. Now, see, when I call her on Zoom, guess what's the first thing I'm going to tell her? Do you know the reason I'm calling you, Gladys? Is because Kiki told me that you give away 50 free turkeys every Thanksgiving. I've never heard that before. See, she can't argue with that. You're missing it. Some of you are missing it. Do you catch that? See, I find something complimentary, say, but I don't lie. I find something good, right? That's why I asked a friend, tell me their best quality, and then I'd like to hear a story about it so I can incorporate it in a story even, right? And then when I say that to her, even though she's like, why is this guy on Zoom, and why is he talking so loud? But I kind of like him. Why? Because I talked about her, and you see, once a person opens their heart, now your message can get in. But if you'll ever notice, when you're with a salesperson, come on. Like the Windows salesman that says, if you don't buy these windows tonight, they're going to be twice as expensive. You feel like saying, get out of here, right? Like, and so, if you could learn from Rumi now, who was alive in 1200 in Afghanistan, which means he didn't have Twitter, and he didn't have social media, but he said, don't worry if people don't understand you, because they hear your words and they think their own thoughts. And now I can tell some of you why your family doesn't listen to you, because they know us also. You know what my wife says, honey, I already know what's coming. I already know. Do you see that? And if you can learn that one from me right there. I mean, Eric Olson I pick him up at the airport. You know, Eric Olson's making $13 million a year. Every time I picked him up at the airport, he had a list of questions for me like this. And I was, he was making like $5 million, then he was making $10 million. I feel like saying, I should be asking you questions, right? But see, he wanted to get that down. But he'd ask me that, but he'd ask another person something different. Like he'd ask Rich Stolley a different question. Do you see that? And that's why with Toon, you've got to figure it out. What it is about Toon that he never gave up. He felt like giving up, but you got to ask him sometimes, what was it? And the deeper the question goes, the more that he has to think about it. Are we ready? Yeah. All right. Let's go get something to eat. You guys have been at meetings all day today.